Hey everyone, today I wanted to make a video talking about one of the coolest shortcuts in Mario Kart World, the Acorn Heights NISC, aka no item shortcut, SHROOMLESS shortcut, whatever you want to call it. Not only is this shortcut really cool looking, but I'd argue that it's one of the most important ones in the game. If the pack is really close on Acorn Heights and you're in first place around this ending section, you're just gonna get passed by people shrooming through the shortcut. There's no way around it, because the shortcut saves so much time. So if you could learn how to take this shortcut without an item in the first place, you can maintain your lead and potentially get a big breakaway going. What's also really cool about this shortcut is that there's multiple ways to do it, and I'm going to cover the two best ways. The first method, which is the one that most people know about, revolves around you riding this left wall and getting an air trick immediately after it ends. It looks complex, but it's really not that bad. It just has one major downside, which I'll cover later. But first, let me break down the setup. Once you get on this first vine right here, you're gonna need to get over to the second one on the right. I believe the fastest way to do this is by just doing an early neutral trick off of the first vine and then holding right slightly. But you can also just ride most of the first vine and then perform a right trick towards the end. It doesn't really matter. On the second vine, you're going to perform a double left trick to get on the wall, but you need to get off of the vine a bit early. Don't wait right until the end. I like to do this first left trick right at this second to last flower. If you just do your two tricks from this spot, you'll get on the wall every time. As you ride the wall, keep holding left to maintain your height. In fact, don't let go of left at all for the rest of this shortcut. After riding the wall for a bit, it starts to curve outward, which would normally result in you falling off. To prevent this from happening, perform a trick as soon as the wall starts curving out to land back on it. Now, here's where things can get a little tricky. As you go off the end of the wall, you need to perform an air trick before hitting the wall on the inside of the house in order to properly stick to it. The timing, though, is a little precise. If you trick too soon, you'll end up landing on the right side of the house, which will make you lose a catastrophic amount of time. If you trick too late, then you'll end up bonking the wall before your trick comes out, resulting in you not sticking. So make sure you wait a little bit after leaving the wall before tricking to make sure you'll hit the wall inside the house. And to make the air trick more consistent, I'd recommend shaking your controller rather than pressing ZR. You can do it by pressing ZR, but from my experience, the timing is very janky and inconsistent. Shaking to perform the air trick here results in success much more often. Once you land on the wall inside the house, it's smooth sailing from there. Just ride the wall for a bit and spam some left tricks to get back on the ground. And congrats, you just did the Acorn Heights NISC. I know that seemed complex, but once you just practice it a bit, the setup really isn't that bad. However, as I alluded to earlier, there is one major caveat to doing this shortcut that you should know, which is your ability to do it reliably is coin dependent. To be more specific, the more coins you have, the harder the shortcut becomes. The reason for this is that the higher your coin count, the faster you move in the air, which makes this air trick, which already has pretty tight timing, even more difficult. So now you're probably wondering, well, okay, what's the highest amount of coins I can have in order to do the shortcut reliably? Unfortunately, that's a really hard question to answer because it varies depending on your character. As I'm sure you all know by now, coins are scaled differently depending on weight class. From my experience, trying this NISC with more than 4 coins on a lightweight character can impact the consistency severely. However, when trying it with 3 coins or less, I can land it nearly every time. Now, I'm not trying to say you can't do it with more than 4 coins, because you absolutely can, it just becomes less consistent. So personally, I don't like going for this NISC if I have more than 4 coins, even if it is still technically possible. But if you have more than like 10 coins, I would absolutely not recommend going for this wall ride method. I know that kind of sucks to hear, because if you're front running, you're most likely going to have a decent amount of coins. So what, if you have a lot of coins, you just can't do the shortcut? Well, luckily for you, there's another method. This second method, which I'm going to be referring to as the Lamppost Method, is a tiny bit slower than the wall ride method, but the good news is that you can do this with any coin count on any character. And while the setup for it does take a little more alignment on your part, it's still pretty easy to do by just using some visual cues. So this first part is going to sound a little strange, but just stick with me. You're going to ride this first vine for a bit and trick near the apex. Wait for a split second ground, and then start spamming left tricks to land in between both vines below. Start a left drift before you land to maintain your speed in the off-road. Keep drifting to the left for a bit without going too wide. I like to try and align myself around the very tip of the leaf's shadow here, but don't worry about needing to be too precise. The alignment is pretty lenient. Again, just don't go super wide. As soon as you reach the edge of the shadow, start a charge jump. Move a little bit to the left while charging to try and align yourself with this shadow on the wall. Then right before hitting the off-road, release your charge jump to land directly in the shadow. Wall ride for a split second, then right at this first clover, perform a right trick off the wall. Then immediately perform a left trick as you bounce off the back of this wooden lamppost. If your alignment was solid, you'll just naturally land on the wall inside the house if you keep holding left. But feel free to spam some more left tricks after bouncing off the lantern just to be safe. And that's the lamppost method. While I do think this method is overall safer and more consistent than the wall ride method, it does still have some risks. You probably noticed in the footage that after I bounced off the lamppost, it fell over. It's not there anymore. It does respawn every lap, but if you're not in first place and someone else does it before you, you can't do it on that specific lap. So in my opinion, you should really only be going for the lantern method if you're in first place, since you'll always be guaranteed the ability to do it. I mean, you can try to go for it in lower positions, but it's risky, especially if this method becomes more popular. And side note, but the lamppost disappearing every time you hit it makes practicing it in time trials and free roam pretty annoying, since you can basically only try it once per lap. So those are the two best methods for the Acorn Heights NISC. I recommend mastering them both, and then once you become good at them, it's up to you to decide which one to use in different situations. The wall ride method is slightly faster, the setup is super easy, and it's safer to go for regardless of position. However, the final trick can be inconsistent, and having more coins only makes it tougher. The lantern method is slightly slower, and it's only safe to go for when you're in first place, but it's way more consistent, and you won't have to worry about your coin count while you're front running. This method does require a little more effort on your part to align yourself properly, but if you just use the visual cues that I described earlier and practice it a bit, it's a walk in the park. Plus, you can do this method without needing to be on the top vine, which is nice if you get hit or bumped off of it. Lastly, I just wanted to throw this in. If you have a feather on this map, just use that in the shortcut. I know the entire point of this video was to describe the shortcut if you have no item, but a lot of people don't seem to know that a feather can be used here too. And it's really safe and it's really easy. Plus, there's like no other spots on this map where a feather can really give value. So yeah, if you have a feather, forget the NISCs, just use that. Anyway, let me know down below what you guys think of this shortcut. I personally think it's the coolest one in the game. It's just so useful. Also, let me know what you thought of this video, and if you enjoyed it, please drop a like and subscribe for more guides like this. Hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you all next time.